Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I will be your co-host. My name is Rebekah Black, and today we're going to be talking about using Mentimeter Enterprise with our newly launched features. Now, before we jump into the official presentation, I'd like to ask everybody here to grab your smartphone, open up a new tab, or open up your tablet and go ahead and go to menti.com and just go ahead and use that access code 31033372. From there, you can interact with me in real time and really make sure that this presentation is engaging. Of course, if you'd prefer to make things a bit easier, I can go ahead and present our QR code. So again, grab your smartphone, snap that image, and join me directly. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see that access code once again. Okay, great to see we have some people already joining us. Nice to see that we have some people over the pond, if you could say. We're actually based here in Stockholm, Sweden. So it's great to see some international users coming in. Amazing. So as I mentioned, we are going to go ahead and talk about mastering Mentimeter Enterprise with advanced features. Now, as of recently, we've launched a ton of new useful features for our users. And today I will be joined by our product manager, Adrian, who will talk about how he created these features and why. From there, we can discuss how to actually utilize them for your organization. So once again, for those of you who have not been able to join the official presentation, go ahead. The Menti code and access code is going to be available once again, and that's menti.com, access code 31033372. Now, I'll go ahead and go through the agenda and a couple engagement features that we have. Firstly, I'm going to go ahead and make the introduction to Adrian, who is our product manager here at Mentimeter. He's going to talk about some of the new features like centralization and how we really mastered enterprise level security, using some of these features like SSO, SCIM, to really enhance that data protection. Lastly, we'll discuss Mentimeter Enterprise eligibility. That way, you guys can determine whether or not this is a subscription plan that's going to be suitable for you, your team, or your organization as a whole. And of course, lastly, we will save about 10 to 15 minutes for any questions that you have. Overall, Aaron and I want to make sure that you leave this webinar with all of your questions answered. Now, before I bring on our guest, I just want to go ahead and mention these emojis on the bottom right of the screen. Now, this will kind of help us, gauge the audience feedback, see how the presentation is going in real time. If you like what we're saying, it's making sense, go ahead, hit that heart, hit that thumbs up. If you might need some more clarity on something, please go ahead, hit that question mark. Then we know, okay, let's spend a bit more time on this specific topic. And then lastly, if I'm talking too quickly, or if me or Adrian are not enunciating, go ahead and hit that Batman or the cat. And then lastly, you'll see that Q&A feature. We'll have that open throughout the entire presentation. So if at any point a question pops into your head, go ahead and submit it. And as I said, we'll make sure that gets answered. So without further ado, I would like to bring on our guest, Adrian.
Hello, can you see me?
Let me double check here, make sure. Yep, yeah, we can see you.
Cool.
Perfect.
Hey, everybody. My name is Adrian. I work as a product manager here at Mentimeter. And I only started a couple of months ago, so I really hope I can nail this walkthrough and answer your questions in the end. Some fun facts about me. I'm from Stockholm, Sweden. Always wanted to sort of live abroad and live somewhere else, but the city and this country has kept me, and now I joined Mentimeter, so I'll be probably stuck for some more time ahead. Two fun facts that Rebekah added here is like builder and bouldering. Basically, what that means is that on my free time, I'm currently building on my own summer house, like a cabin. I don't know much about building, so it's a learning process. And bouldering, I'm also an avid climber on my free time, so it's builder and bouldering. That's some fun fact about me. Yeah.
The double B's, easy to remember.
Exactly. Yeah.
Adrian, the builder, and the boulderer, if that's a term.
Yeah.
Well, Adrian, thank you so much for introducing yourself. And before we go ahead and jump into all of the information that we have for you guys, Adrian and I really want to gauge, how familiar you are with Mentimeter. Many of our users typically might have a, pro, basic, or free subscription. So if you have a plan, go ahead and let us know. Great to see that most of you guys do have a subscription.
Yeah, really cool.
Awesome.
All of you almost.
Nice. It's great to see. Now, just to take that question a little bit further and really make sure this presentation is related to your specific use cases, let me and Adrian know, how you're using Mentimeter as of now. And then, as I said, throughout the presentation, we can use some of these new features and really apply it to how your team's already using Mentimeter. Hopefully really maximize that usage. Let's see what we get in here.
Okay. Feedback, workshops, polls, training, nice stuff.
Yeah, all pretty familiar use cases, I'd say. What do you think, Adrian?
Yeah, we use it for this internally as well, pretty much all of these. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. And I just want to highlight one of the great parts of this question, which I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with, is that you can kind of see those popular terms really fluctuating in size. So I guess we could say the more common use case in this group would be presentations and surveys. So great to see. So a bit of a disclaimer here. Now, a lot of you guys are familiar with Mentimeter, but today we're going to specifically focus on Mentimeter Enterprise. And we're really going to focus on pretty much 4 key components: the centralized administration, the scalability, the security and the control, and then lastly, the premium support. But as I'm not necessarily the expert in all these functionalities, Adrian will go ahead and show us the first slide, centralized administration.
It was groups, but yeah, this works.
Groups, yes.
Yes. So I'm the product manager of the enterprise team. So my colleagues, they focus more on so my product manager colleagues, they focus more on the Mentimeter experience, the presentations and so forth. But I focus on the enterprise to sort of cater for big organizations that are interested in buying Mentimeter at large. So groups is one feature that we provide to our enterprise customers. And what groups basically is that it allows you to create and manage a lot of members in different sort of buckets and groups within the Mentimeter experience. So as an enterprise user, you buy a lot of licenses, and groups is a way to sort of make sure that you can divide them and handle it in a better way. So the core functionality of groups is that you can access templates, themes, and content between each other in Mentimeter much more easily compared to sort of without groups. So it's a way to organize you. your workspace. So you can add and remove team members, and the team members can coexist in multiple groups. So it's perfect if you have you want to have like a marketing department, and then maybe you want to have the technology department, and you can divide them. But you can also have these members being part of, like, if you have a quiz group or a training, for example. So it's a good way to sort of divide how we use Mentimeter internally.
Nice. Yeah, Adrian, a lot of our enterprise users seem to love this feature because, like you said, if you're going to use Mentimeter on such a large scale, it really allows you to kind of segment these groups. That way people are accessing, the content of the templates that you mentioned.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's worth mentioning that this is a fairly new feature for us, and we're constantly sort of trying to improve it and make it better. So just keep that in mind. But there is a lot of possibilities here how we can improve it. And that's also so nice when you hear from customers and get feedback about how we can improve it, because the sort of use cases and the scenarios varies a lot for our customers, if they're big or small and so forth.
Yeah, one of the, I think, prominent features of groups, I guess that ties into the centralized administration, is being able to add and remove team members. So kind of keep that redistribution and have a bit of flexibility, which is great.
Right. Yeah. Another thing we provide to enterprise customers is something we call Workspace Analytics. So what it is basically a tool or like a feature within Mentimeter for admins and owners only. And when you're going in there, you get some basic graphs and some analytics of how Mentimeter is being used within your workspace. And this is something we gave to our customers as they wanted ways to sort of talk to their managers or stakeholders about like renewing or buying more Mentimeter licenses, but also to prove like how Mentimeter is being used. So it both builds a function to sort of more help you sort of expand your Mentimeter usage and see how it grows. But also it can be really fun and good to see how it's being used in your organizations, on departments, and how often and how much you grow, etc.
Yeah, this I was going to say maybe ties into a bit of our premium support, Adrian. Not only does the users themselves be able to see, I guess, the bird's eye view of the overall usage, but internally we can also help you use this data. So if you want to scale up or even potentially scale it down, add on additional departments, yeah, these analytics can really validate that popularity. Right. So that's great to see.
And it's really fun in Mentimeter internally. We can see some really nice patterns. We have our Wednesday meeting, the entire company, and we can see like the usage. It's really spiking on like Wednesdays when Oscar is having our big internal meetings. That's fun.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I just want to mention about the workspace analytics. Typically, if you do see this very, very high usage within your team, we have this phrase that this high usage can contribute to the viral loop. And essentially what that is within your organization, once people start to see other team members using Mentimeter as this engagement tool, regardless if it's internally or externally, it's fairly common that a lot of team members will say, hey, I want to have an engaging meeting. Can I use Mentimeter as well? And if you see that graph really take a spike, we can hopefully assume that that viral loop is continuing to maximize that popularity.
Right.
So, Adrian, do you want to lead this this question as the analytics master?
Yeah, sure. So a little question in between all the slides. I'm curious to know sort of what type of analytics are most interesting to you to get to know. So if you pick up your smartphone, you can start voting and get some results. All right. So the questions are: how many presentations are held per month? Audience feedback and participation reports. How many participants attend a session? And questions asked in a presentation session.
Nice. This is great to see.
Yeah. Audience feedback and participation reports seems to be the leader here. Yeah.
It's great too, I guess, Adrian, if we relate this back to the subgroups in the centralized plan, especially if you're dedicated to one specific team. Let's say, for example, you might have an HR meeting. And of course, you want to see how your organization responded to specific questions, what type of feedback they gave. Directly within the dashboard, your entire team can see all of that feedback, even down to the number of hearts and thumbs up that somebody gave. So it's great to verify whether it was a successful presentation or maybe a presentation that might need some improvements. I guess we can go ahead and move on to the next portion.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, and then enterprise level security. Of course, we are thinking about this a lot and trying to really make sure that our enterprise grade services also keeps enterprise grade security. So we provide a lot of like industry standard security levels to make sure that your Mentimeter experience is safe and your data, of course. So we provide some tools like SSO, SCIM. We have GDPR and data protection compliance, and also some customized control over your sort of workspace and how you invite users. And the next slides will go through them one by one. But first off, is the questions. Are you familiar with the term SSO and SCIM? This might be new to some of you, but if you've been working in a big enterprise or a big organization, you might know. Cool. So 2 yes, 2 no, 3 a little bit, 3 yes. Okay.
Okay.
I was expecting more people to say no, actually.
Likewise, I was going to say it's great to see that familiarity. I can definitely say when we introduced these phrases to the sales team, these were very unfamiliar terms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, and but it's nice.
Yeah.
So SSO. SSO is short for single sign-on, and what it does is basically that it's a way for you to sort of create an account and log into a service without actually having to create a password and like a separate account. So most familiar with this, you're probably with Google. That's the sort of the default thing. Signing up for a new service, you probably have seen this screen that's like signing with Google, and you tap that button and you create an account with your Google account without having to sort of put in a password. So this is basically support for doing that in Mentimeter. So you can enable your employees to sort of sign in and sign up with their company credentials without having to create a separate password or such. And you can also sort of limit this to only accept your employees or your organization members to use your company email domain. So also you gain more security and control over the accounts. And yeah, so it's a good way to sort of authorize and authenticate employee access in a very simple way. It's very easy and secure. That's so nice because it's easy to log in and set up as an end customer, as an employee or a member of the organization, but it's also secure for you as an organization. Yeah, it's like organizational ownership of the license basically, and you can distribute them as you need. And this is a really good way to sort of accelerate the Mentimeter adoption internally. You can just turn this on, and then all your organization members can go into the invitation link and sign up, basically. And of course, you can put some restrictions here how you want to do it, but it's really handy, especially for larger customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy adoption and easy access is going to be the key there, I think.
And then SCIM, that's short for System for Cross-Domain Identity Management. And what it is basically, it's a technical backend protocol. So what it is I don't know if all of you are familiar with identity providers or if you use it, but an example is Microsoft Azure or like a HR software like Okta and such. And basically what those software are doing is that they're gathering and collecting all your employee information, so you can have all your employees listed in there. And SCIM is sort of like a tool to sort of connect this identity provider with Mentimeter. So if you're a larger organization, you probably are using this today to sort of hand out licenses for maybe Slack, Trello, Salesforce, etc. And here you can also include Mentimeter. So what this provides you is like a way to much more easily handle sort of the distribution of Mentimeter internally on a large scale without actually having to go into Mentimeter and invite people. You can do this as a remote tool. So it's really good to sort of increase efficiency and minimize the administration. And of course, with Skim in these identity provider software, you can set up a lot of automatic sort of protocols that sort of, as soon as you get a new employee, they can get access to Mentimeter. And if they resign or if you remove their account for some reason, that Mentimeter license is also revoked and turned back, also to keep it more secure. So it's really good for security and efficiency, and sort of minimize your need to go into Mentimeter.com to sort of distribute and manage the licenses. Maybe more interesting for the larger customers. But if you have you can use Skim for like any size of your enterprise plan, but you need to be an enterprise customer.
Once again, that easy access. And it sounds like,
Yes.
Using SSO and Skim can really, hopefully, at least support minimizing your tool stack. Not needing to use Mentimeter alongside a variety of all these different tools. Have that immediate access and easy, seamless use.
For sure. Yes, and then data protection and GDPR. So at Mentimeter, we take security very seriously. We use very standard sort of data protection. We make sure that we are GDPR compliant and that we follow like relevant laws and regulations. We also work with trusted third-party vendors when we do sort of our hosting and our collaborators on the technical side. So we take this very serious, and especially for the enterprise customer, we need to ensure that we are following the sort of the industry standard when it comes to security. And good to note here is like sort of results and the data inside inside a presentation is only accessible by the accounts and owners in the workspace. Like this, you probably see the presentation on your phone through this code, but you can't really access the slides. And the good thing here is that our voting codes as well they recycle automatically to like on a limited timeline. This of course is sort of, you can just edit this a bit in the software to extend it to a bit longer if you're having like a conference or you want to do a survey, etc. But we are taking this very seriously and think about ways to make sure that your presentations and your data and everything is secure and safe.
So what is included in Mentimeter Enterprise?
Yes.
Adrian, do you want to summarize all this?
Sure. So Mentimeter Enterprise is really good for you if you really want to level up your Mentimeter experience and spread it more inside your organization. So Mentimeter Enterprise gives you better centralized control in sort of administrating your Mentimeter experience and distributing licenses. We provide you enterprise level security, of course. As I said, we follow the laws in GDPR. You have sort of the subgroups and the groups functionality to manage your workspace better, and have a lot of tools to sort of distribute licenses internally with like SSO and Skim and so forth. And then we have premium support. As an enterprise customer, you get access to an internal customer success manager and a relationship manager who can help you with any questions or support you need with Mentimeter. And Mentimeter Enterprise is like the option to provide like a very scalable and flexible sort of Mentimeter experience to easily add on more licenses and grow your Mentimeter usage internally.
Now, I guess at this point, you're probably wondering, am I suitable for Mentimeter Enterprise, or when would this be a valuable tool for me and my team to use? Overall, Mentimeter Enterprise is available for all types of organizations. All we really require is that minimum user threshold of at least 10 users. And of course, that's 10 people internally who want to use Mentimeter to present. As Adrian said, maybe you'll have a group of, let's say, 7 people who, as of now, are using Mentimeter to present. But, like Adrian said, with features like centralized control, redistribution, the subscriptions are annually based. So potentially in the future, based on that familiarity, people wanting to start using Mentimeter themselves, you may very well reach that 10 user threshold. And then, of course, you can redistribute that usage based on need. And then furthermore, Mentimeter Enterprise can be applied to specific departments or to full organizations. At that point, Skim would be very useful to you. Those subgroup features would be very useful for you. But of course, if you want to start at a more department-specific usage, again, you can really gauge how Mentimeter is being used specifically within that group. More importantly, I guess from that commercial standpoint, enterprise users do receive scalable discounting based on user volume. And we provide that personalized customer journey, including that internal data and metrics to really help you gauge your organization's use. Now, quite commonly, we actually find that when users decide to express interest in enterprise, we can provide internal data that can show, hundreds of people in your organization who already have individualized plans. Whether it's free, basic, or pro, there's still that usage there. But as we've said already, Mentimeter Enterprise will really allow you to take it to that next level and not only utilize Mentimeter, from that presentation standpoint, but help you utilize it from an organizational standpoint, using that data in a very internally intelligent way. Now, after you've heard myself and Adrian speak a bit, just to gauge, the interest so far, and of course help us determine if this webinar was successful for you guys, you got the information you needed. Would you be interested in exploring Mentimeter more for your specific organization? Okay, some more information, not right now. Not right now, okay. Well, perfect. In that case, I actually think we might be heading into our Q&A quite shortly. I do want to mention, though, for those of you who might need some more information, go ahead, join the chat, and just send us over your email. We can go ahead and reach out to you, maybe offer you some of that more specific internal data, help you determine whether or not you even have the need for Mentimeter as of now. And then, of course, any additional questions, myself or Adrian can support.
Right.
Okay, well, we are at the Q&A session. I will wait for some of these questions to come in. Please go ahead and send any that you may have. Adrian, I would hope this is a good sign that we were very clear and informative in the webinar.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But let's hope we get some in. I will go ahead
Yes.
and just watch this this monitor here, Adrian. And until we get some pop up, I'll just go ahead and lead us to the last slide. If you want to go ahead and talk to us a bit more about Mentimeter Enterprise, go ahead, fill out that quick form, and we can reach out to you specifically. Of course, if you haven't already sent your email and chat, this is just another alternative.
Yeah, I can also recommend to everyone to go to help.mentimeter.com, and you can sort of search for enterprise and read a bit more about SSO, Skim, and all these features, what you can do more with Mentimeter Enterprise. And of course, to mentimeter.com/enterprise also to give a lot of good information about what we provide more in detail.
I believe we have a Zainab in the chat holding everything down for us. So Zainab, if you could, just go ahead and send that enterprise page in. See if we can get some people getting that information. Well, I guess let's go ahead and just jump back into the Q&A portion. I see we had a question come in here. Let's go ahead and see.
Can I try these enterprise features without giving any long-term commitment? Yes, you actually can. We are providing an enterprise trial that anyone is eligible for, that you can try out the enterprise plan for 30 days for free. So you can absolutely do that.
And of course, if this is something you're interested in doing, go ahead, send over your email in the chat, or
Right.
when we end the Q&A session, I can just go back to that quick form really quickly.
Yeah. Really good.
Okay, we'll stay on this slide for just a couple more minutes here and see if we have any last minute questions coming in. Again, I would take this as a good sign, Adrian. I hope we were clear enough. But any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, here we go. How many licenses do we need to purchase for enterprise features? Adrian, do you want to take this one?
Yes, exactly. So what we said is that we recommend a minimum of 10 as our limit. And then from 10, you can go as high as you want. But I would say 10 licenses at minimum. Are there any development plans to not use a smartphone for input and instead use the presentation view? Yeah, so if I interpret you correctly here, you can actually use a web browser if you to put in questions and vote on slides and presentations. Just go to menti.com and use the code as you did, but in a desktop. I hope I interpret this question correctly. What do you think,
Good
Rebekah?
question, though. Yeah, I
sure.
interpret it the same way.
Yeah.
But of course, web browser, phone, tablet, always simply need to have, the only thing people actually need to engage with presentations is internet access.
Yeah.
And then they can go to this code or this URL however they wish, enter the code, instant engagement.
For sure. Does only IT have access to enterprise at top level, or can this be distributed on the department level as well, where SB has the enterprise powers for a unit? Yes, so in a workspace, when buying Mentimeter Enterprise, you have an owner and you can assign multiple admins. So basically, you can have as many admins as you want. So you can be multiple people within a workspace that can sort of organize and distribute licenses to people. So it can be both on like a top or department level. And here's groups come in as a good way to sort of separate your departments into different groups and get a bit more structure over how you control your workspace.
Great question. And great answer, of course, Adrian.
Yeah, and also worth mentioning on that note is that like for larger organizations that maybe are active in multiple countries, you can of course buy Mentimeter Enterprise on your for a smaller group, of course, and not do it like international. If you're hundreds of thousands of employees, for example, you can buy it on a smaller scale for sure. Okay, another question: will Mentimeter grow more into a survey tool for offline service like SurveyMonkey? Interesting. Yeah, I'd say like we explore a lot internally how we should evolve and develop Mentimeter going forward. Of course, some people are using Mentimeter for service. We do internally as well. So you can actually use Mentimeter to do surveys just by sharing sort of the presentation and the code for people to put in answers. And yeah, that's how much we can share, I suppose. Do you have anything to add, Rebekah?
No, this is a great question as well.
Yeah.
Typically, I guess the more common use could be using Mentimeter in much more of a synchronous way. Like we are right now in this live setting.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're doing trainings, potentially, you're a teacher, you have a classroom full of students, and you want to send offline surveys, offline questionnaires for them to fill out. Mentimeter offers that as well. And then, of course, you get the same functionality of being able to get all of that engagement reporting, how they answer the surveys, how they answer the quizzes, and be able to use that offline as well. But it's not as much of a common use case, but it is available.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so definitely something to try and utilize here if you can. Okay. Can you help find other license for Mentimeter within our organization? We have one license, but do not know what other licenses are out within the organization. Do not see us getting to 10.
Hmm.
Absolutely. This really ties into what Adrian and I were discussing about premium support. Even from a preliminary standpoint, even if you're not an enterprise customer already, but you're interested, our data team can, of course, do some digging into our database and export information based on how many team members are using Mentimeter in your specific organization.
Right.
And then from there, of course, based on request, we can send you over that documentation. And then from there, we can really validate. Are you guys getting to 10? Maybe not, but potentially you could be well over that based on the size of your organization.
Right.
So if you're interested in this, go ahead and let us know. I can either jump back to our quick form really quickly, or you can just go ahead and add your email to the chat, and I can get in touch with you personally with this information.
Yeah, and I mean, as always, like you can always start on a pro plan and you see
Mm,
how you want to grow, and then go on to enterprise when you feel a need for it.
absolutely. One last thing I actually want to mention, because we're on this question, uh, just want to go ahead and give this information. I noticed it said we have one license, and just in compliance with ensuring that the content and the information in your account is secure, it's GDPR compliant. We don't recommend users to share single licenses. Just again, to really ensure that all that data and information is protected. Rough estimate on enterprise license cost per year. This is a great question as well. And the best way to give you a good estimate would be to get a initial starting point for your team. Will it just be the 10, maybe 20, maybe 50? And then, of course, depending on what type of organization you are, we can, of course, offer some additional discounting. So you can get that scalable discount and a discount applied based on your organization type. So to get this estimate, what I'm going to do just quickly before we jump into the last question is just go back to our quick form page. Now, I know we saw a couple questions about the trial and about receiving data as well, and then, of course, about an estimate. If these are your questions, please don't hesitate to go ahead and fill this out. As I said, it doesn't need to be a commitment to Mentimeter, just a way to make sure you get all the information you need.
Hmm.
While we're here, I think I can actually go ahead and just pull up some of these last minute questions. So rough estimate. Once again, please go ahead and fill out the quick form. I can give you a good estimate based on your organization and your scope. This looks like a good question for you, Adrian. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. So after gathering results of a survey, can you see participants' info, for example, who answered each question? So at Mentimeter, we really value anonymity and that each participant should be anonymous. So actually you can't, and that's designed this way. But for example, like, of course, in your service, you can sort of have a field for them to enter their name if you really want. If you have a very casual sort of survey, for example, that like you can have a field for people to enter their name, or here internally, we also often write a question or something and then like slash our name. So it's designed to be anonymous intentionally because we truly believe in it. But there are ways, of course, that you can add some fields to people input their names.
Yeah, typically we find that anonymous factor really just helps incentivize people to actually participate in these
Right.
presentations.
Yeah. A great way to get everyone's opinions heard and get
Exactly.
people feel comfortable to share. It's truly powerful, actually.
Yeah, I think we're all a bit familiar with those meetings where you always, the loudest people in the room will speak. You always have the handful of people who are willing to talk,
Yeah.
and then sometimes even a greater handful of people who aren't willing to speak. So
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, having that option is great. Okay, let me go ahead and take a look at the time. We have about 5 minutes left here, everyone.
All
So
right.
while we're on this last page, once again, please send any last-minute questions that you may have. Otherwise, before me and Adrian sign off, I want to thank everyone for joining here today. And please, reach out to us once again. We have sales@mentimeter.com. If you want to just go ahead and have a quick chat about Mentimeter Enterprise or maybe about your pro subscription. Zainab, if you can just throw the sales@mentimeter.com email address in there. Or go ahead and check out Enterprise landing page, which Adrian mentioned. Any last words, Adrian?
No, it was fun. It's fun to talk about Mentimeter and Enterprise. And as Rebekah said, please shout out and reach out if you have any questions. And we're a ton of people internally happy to help you.
Yeah, great Q&A session as well. So it was really cool to see a lot of users who are familiar with Mentimeter. So that was really great to see.
Exactly.
On that
Yeah.
on that first slide, seems like everyone had
Yeah.
a subscription already.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Cool.
Okay. Well, doesn't look like we're getting any other additional questions. The time is 5:41 in Sweden.
Yes.
I'll just stay here for, let's say, I guess just one more minute. Otherwise, thank you so much again, everybody, and we hope to talk to you soon. Okay. All right, you guys. I think it's about time to sign off. We hope to talk to you guys soon. Thanks again. Bye, everyone. Bye, Adrian.
Bye.